Hello everyone and welcome. Sit back, relax, make a cup of tea or whatever you like to drink and get ready for new stories from Yellowcat. Send your own favorite stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. So subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. Let's get started. How quickly did you witness a coworker being fired? Part 3. I didn't fire this nurse because I was contracted as an ER doctor at the time, but in my first month at the hospital, I had a new nurse with 17 years of experience, which I liked. A woman wrecked her bike, which might not seem like a big deal, but she broke her tibia and was in a lot of pain. The tibia is a bone that connects your knee and ankle joints, and I've had it kicked before, and it hurt like H. This woman was crying and asking over and over, please fix it. She wasn't asking in a dramatic way, but like she was dying for the pain to end. The nurse and 2 residents were working her up. The nurse kept raising her voice over the woman's moans, which made her look very angry. The lady said, please make it stop hurting, to which the nurse responded, if you'd shut up for a minute, we could help you. The people there knew me. The nurse didn't do it. Someone lived there was told to take the nurse to see Mr. Uline in 303. Uline makes chairs in room 303 is where we take breaks. I went to talk to the nurse after finishing with the patient and reminded her that it wasn't my job to fire her. I told her she could either quit or stay here for the rest of her shift and I'd make sure she got fired in the morning. Because she was stubborn, she chose to stay in the break room and get paid all night. I'm gonna be petty. I looked up everything on her job application on Google after getting it. The boss she had us call for a reference turned out to be her sister, which I learned from her Facebook page. I found that when she still had 2 hours left on her shift. When I went into the break room, she apologized right away, but she was acting like a child who just wants to get out of trouble and wasn't being honest at all. One nurse was on break, so I asked her to leave for a minute and start her break again when she got back. I then showed her the application and asked her if it was 100% correct. I knew she was scared even though she didn't show it. She said she had never even worked at the previous hospital and had been out of work for 4 years before that. I don't know how she did it. Then I asked her, how have you kept your license while you've been out of work? It takes a certain number of hours for nurses to keep their license. She turned pale. I liked her so much that my first thought was to check her in. She quickly left the break room, and I never saw her again. The next morning, I told her boss about everything, and they agreed that something should be looked into. She had apparently been in prison for 4 years, I don't know why, and lied to get a job because she thought we'd never find out. To be fair, we wouldn't have if she had been a kind, normal person to someone who was hurting. I do know that this event was a mess for almost everyone who worked in hiring at the hospital and other hospitals in the chain because she got in. I was told that she tried to get out of trouble by calling in sick the next morning, but her boss already knew. My only regret is that I wasn't in the room when it happened, so when she kept rambling, I could say, if you'd shut up a minute, we could tell you. You're fired. I'm gonna say it happened in the second week of training. The guy and I both began at the same time. He's the guy in my cubicle who just sold his 48-inch TV on our at work for sale email group and then went and bought a 52-inch TV. I don't want to say his name. He also put up a TV in his cubicle with a nice looking console that emulates old Nintendo games. During lunch, he would sometimes play Mario or something else. Do you remember the show Bucky Balls? Remember how they had this crazy fire sale while they were in court for not giving enough warning not to swallow them? It was around that time that the guy was in a pretty tough training class. If you want to get training like this outside of work, you can't get it anywhere else. Around 11 a.m., he sent out an email that said the following. For tech-savvy people like us, Bucky Balls are a great desk toy. Due to a lot of traffic, their site is almost impossible to use. It was annoying and took a long time to load pages again and again, but he kept trying. After 45 minutes of fighting with this website, he was able to buy 3 sets of Bucky Balls for $5 each, which is a great deal if you like that kind of thing. He also put a link to their e-commerce site on it. At first glance, it looked like a simple website link, but it was actually a complicated affiliate tracking link. This email goes to almost everyone on this site, including the heads of all of the departments and the people who work in them. Like a lot of businesses, we were pretty worried about security. Any link that's too long to read easily will be looked at more closely, especially if it's hidden behind hyperlink text that looks completely normal. There's an email thread where security team leaders tell people not to click on the link until they've checked it out. There are also several questions about why he didn't just link to the site. In the end, it's decided that the link was safe, but it was also spammy and added a tracking cookie or something, so here's the clean link. The head of the department comes by my cubicle around lunchtime to find the guy and ask him about this email. We tell him straight out that the guy is in training. He looks at us with bewildered shock and then asks the guy's boss what training he's getting and where. Then he walks away. As time goes on, I begin to wonder how long buckyballs will stick with him at this job. Director comes back after lunch and tells us what's going on. The guy was pulled out of the training room by the director to talk about how his email chain is seen by other department heads, how bad it looks when someone says he spent his last hour of work trying to buy toys, the problem with the affiliate link, and how he should use better judgment in the future. He then gets into a fight with the guy. Boss gives him a talk and he starts to defend himself. He says that people shouldn't have been so worried about the link and that buying the buckyballs didn't take up too much of his time, so he was still getting something out of the class. At that point, the director just wants to end the conversation and get back to his desk to get back to work as usual. He ends the talk, tells the guy to go back inside and pay attention, and then he walks away. Before he even got to his desk, the director realized that this person would soon be talking to our customers. This wasn't a small-time job to fix your laptop, and it wouldn't do for whoever made the decision to be on the phone with our high-end clients and giving them support. Director turned left and went straight to the guy's boss. He told him that the guy was going to clean out his desk today. There may be stories of people getting fired on the first day, but a week and a half is the fastest I've seen someone get fired. Which homeowners association experience was the worst for you? Part 3. I was the only heir to my dad's estate when he died in 2009. The estate was broke, debts were higher than assets. Remember that I am not the executor, I am only the heir. Anyway, the HOA had already paid its dues every 3 months, so everything was fine in the fall of 2009. The house became my property when the will was filed and the county confirmed I was the only heir. However, I was not authorized to sell it legally as it was an asset of the estate and I was not acting as an agent for the estate. After a few months, the HOA fees begin for the next quarter. Postal mail is sent to the house, and I give it to the executor. They finally start calling me to ask why I haven't paid those bills yet. The HOA goes away for a few months after I tell them to talk to the executor. Towards the middle of 2010, they began sending me bills through the mail along with a coupon book. They make it clear to me that I am responsible for this debt when I call them and ask what's going on. My name's on the property paperwork that the county gave me. I get in touch with the executors and ask them why they haven't been paying. Because the estate is bankrupt, they say, they can't pay the bills because that would show that debt is treated better than other debt. Not even bills to keep an estate asset is in good shape. They don't say anything when I ask them about selling the house. After some time, I get a mean text message from the HOA telling me they're gonna sue me to get their $1,800. To be polite, I call them and ask if they have any papers with my signature on them that say I agree to take on this debt. They say that they don't need a signature because it's enough for the county to say that I own the property even though I don't actually own it. I try to explain to them that that's not how debt works in general. The rules are clear. You can't just say, I owe you money without a deal. So I hire a lawyer. In a letter, he tells them what they're trying to do is wrong and that their problem is with the executor, not me. An HOA in Virginia can sell your house to get the money they're owed, even if the amount is only a small part of what the house is worth. They made some oblique reference to this, also how this would ruin my credit, foreclosure would be in my name, yada yada. My lawyer finally got through to them, and they put a lien on the house. When it was sold, the money from the sale paid off their debt. Even though it cost me about $1,000 in legal fees, it felt great to hear from my lawyer that they couldn't F me. I've decided that I will never buy a home that is managed by an HOA again. I think that people on an HOA board want to have some control over other people's lives so they can impose their will on those people, and the people they control don't have many options. Like college housing departments, full disclosure, I did this as an RA, or people who want to be managers but don't have the right reasons. There may be HOAs and members who are perfect and only do good things, but that's not been my experience at all. The first time I moved into my condo, I set up direct draft so that I wouldn't have to make the trip to the management company, which was located in a different town and several miles away, every single month. First month went without a hitch. In the second month, I unexpectedly received a nastygram in the mail which stated that if I did not pay in the office by the deadline of 2 days ago, I would be subject to a fine of $15, which would accumulate on a weekly basis until I paid. When I went into the office, I showed the letter that I had received that day along with my bank statement, and I asked why it had bounced. I took a printout of my bank statement which showed that I had more than $2,000 in my account. I was shown a message that read, "Not our problem, pay up." I asked them why they're making me pay a late fee and a check bounce fee when I had more than $2,000 in my account at the time they attempted to remove the money. I became very loud and demanded to know why they're doing this. There were other potential customers in the office. They did not charge the fee. Also, in order to prevent them from plowing or salting the parking lot during the winter, I typically have to threaten legal action. I finally reached my breaking point after a week of battling thick ice in the parking lot and having to deal with the enormous mess that it caused. I took a before and after picture of the parking lot around my car, as well as a picture of the 6-inch slab of ice that was behind my car in the parking lot, and I sent it to them with the message, "I did your job as a one-time courtesy. Next time, my rate'll be $80 per hour with a minimum of 8 hours. I'll have my attorney deliver the bill." In the subsequent snowstorm, everything was plowed under before the sun even rose. The disadvantage is that they no longer respond to my emails when I ask questions. However, I suppose that getting things done is better, so the threat of legal action is the solution. Several years ago, after our children had been subjected to harassment for a considerable amount of time, I was forced to file a restraining order against a few board members and another property owner in our homeowners association. Children would play in the community park that was located in front of our home, and each of them would go out there and yell at our children as well as other children in the neighborhood for various reasons, such as being children and making noise or throwing balls around. To the point of challenging their residency in the community, they would even do so. In the event that we had guests and they parked their vehicles in the street, they would subsequently contact the authorities. This is nothing but insignificant trivia. When the president of the HOA came to the park in a robe and slippers while drunk as a sailor and threatened my children, that was the moment that became the final straw that broke the camel's back. I went to the courthouse the following day to get a restraining order, and I called the police to start the process of filing a report. During the course of 1 year, the restraining order was in effect. After a few years have passed, I have not heard from any of them at all. I have left my trash can out for days, my son's parked his truck in the street, my children have left their toys in the front yard, and I frequently wait until it is obvious that there are enough weeds to warrant calling a landscaper. This is done out of spite. As of late, neither the Homeowners Association nor the property management company has communicated with me or written me letters. Whenever we're out walking or driving through the neighborhood, they do not even bother to look at me. Everyone else in the community looks up to me as if I were a hero. Recently, a person who was not a member of the HOA board informed me that my son's alarm had gone off 3 nights in a row. I turned off his alarm system as quick as I could. My disdain is not directed towards the neighbors. Rather, it's directed toward those who believe that they are able to exercise power due to their membership in the HOA. It's a sham. With the benefit of hindsight, I should have filed a civil lawsuit against the Homeowners Association and its board members with the intention of financially ruining the HOA. Perhaps I'll still do this in the future. All I need is one reason to carry out this action. You want to watch the part 2? Click the link here. Thank you for subscribing, the likes, and comments. We're very happy to see you all in the comments too. Thanks for your support.